Well, hello there. My name is Bradie, and I would like to welcome you to the world of longarm quilting. Just as a little introduction, myself, Bradie, and my husband Matt, as well as our daughter Landon, own Sparrow Quilt Company in Edmonton, Alberta, Canada. So today I am going to start with a little introduction to how to prepare your quilt for loading it on the frame. If you don't already know, it's really important for us to have an extra 4 inches of backing fabric and 4 inches of batting around the entire quilt. So just as an example, a quilt that measures 50 by 50 will require a backing that measures 58 by 58. And that gives us long armors enough space to attach your quilt to the frame and be able to quilt it to its entirety. I have my 3 layers laid out here already, and I have my backing fabric with the right side of the fabric facing down. I have my batting with the right side of the batting facing up, and of course I have my quilt top on top of it all with the right side up. If you didn't know that batting has a right and a wrong side, it does. It is manufactured through a process called needle punching. They puncture through the batting with hundreds of needles in order to hold all the fibers together. Well, we also want our needle to go through in the same direction. So I'm looking for a dimpled appearance on the right side, and I'm looking for kind of nubs or bumps on the wrong side. There's also other indicators that you can look for, but just to keep this video quick and easy, that's. You can also remember that the right side of the batting is facing out on the roll, just like fabric does, okay? The wrong sides will be touching each other, and you want to open that up and put the wrong sides down towards your quilt backing. Now, I am terrible with remembering numbers, so what I like to do is to fold my quilt in a certain way so that when I bring it to the frame, I can unfold it in a certain way. So I already know that the top of the quilt is up there, so what I'm going to do is go ahead and fold it across the width. And I like to fold it until it is about the width of a hanger. Most quilts come into our shop on hangers. We run a rental program here in our quilt shop. And so this is a nice space-saving way for you to store your quilts. You can put everything right on a hanger, add the batting, add the backing, and it just takes up very little room in your closet, and it's very easy to grab it on your way out the door to drop it off at the long armor or to come to my studio and do the quilting. I'm going to set that quilt top aside for a moment, and I'm going to do the exact same thing with my quilt batting. We'll fold it across the width, again to about the width of a hanger, and then we'll fold it once onto itself like that. Now normally I would do the same thing with my quilt backing, but since we're here, let's just go ahead and attach it to the frame. If I had folded it across the width, I would then just unfold across the width, and I would spread it out so that the bulk of the backing is over the back roller of the frame. I'm standing now at the front of the machine. I'm going to throw all that extra fabric back there, and the first thing I'm going to do is lengthen my front roller. We're going to be using a system in this video called Leadergrips, and it means that there is a dowel sewn right into the canvas of the machine. And then we're going to bring over a clear plastic channel, and it's just going to grip over that dowel and trap the backing fabric in between those layers. And that makes the loading system much faster, and it also avoids us getting injured by pins. I like to call that cave quilting. So that canvas is, about 12-16 inches long. I'm going to bring it over the quilt top roller, and I'm going to balance it so that the dowel is at front center. And I'm going to lock this blue lever in place. What you'll find is that this method that I'm about to describe to you, it will work on any type of long arm quilting machine as long as it has canvas leaders. And you have the leader grips already attached. Leader grips are an aftermarket add-on. They don't come with any type of long arm quilting machine. Unless you buy it here at Sparrow, of course. Then we usually throw them in. All right, so now the next thing I'm going to do is bring my bottom edge of my backing fabric so that it is just a finger width past that dowel that I already told you about. I really try my best to make sure that this edge is nice and straight, but let's say I was having a bad night, or maybe I was really tired when I was cutting this, and maybe it isn't perfectly straight. That's the beauty of the Leadergrips, is it allows me to trap that fabric whether it's perfectly straight or not. If I were pinning though, I would need that edge to be perfectly square and straight. I'm also looking at my side edges to make sure that they are square to the front edge of my backing fabric. If they are kind of on an angle, then I know that things aren't laid out properly, and I'm going to straighten everything out before I attach anything. Now I'm bringing over one of the Leadergrips, and it's maybe a bit hard to see on camera there, but it is a clear plastic channel just like I told you about, and now I'm going to attach it onto the dowel. I like to balance the Leadergrip over the dowel with my right hand, and with my left hand I'm going to put my palm right on that grip. I'm going to put my fingers around the entire roller, and I kind of use my body weight to press that onto the dowel. Now my lovely assistant Landon is here waiting with a Leadergrip for me. Thank you, Elle. And I'm going to continue across the length of that dowel to ensure the entire width of fabric is attached. Leadergrips come in various sizes. The first one was a 4 foot, the second one was a 2. They also come in 12 inch and 1 inch, various widths to fit any size of quilt. Now I'm going to lift this bottom edge and I'm going to drop it into the frame. Now I can practically hear your comments. You're very concerned about these wrinkles that are in my backing fabric. I've cut this straight off the bolt and I do that all the time. Don't worry, it's going to be fine. But if you are really concerned, you could spray this with a mist of water. And there she is again, saving my day. This is a Best Press bottle, but it is actually just water. Best Press would also be fine. I'm just going to mist it lightly. And then when we roll it on the frame, it's almost like pressing it for us. And it just flattens everything as we go. I need to loosen the brake on the roller once more, and I'm going to start rolling this backing fabric onto the roller. I'm going to do a single turn, and then I'm going to come and I'm going to smooth out the wrinkles from center. I'm already trying to avoid pleats, tucks, and wrinkles. There is no quilter on this earth that likes pleats, tucks, or wrinkles. Nobody wants that in their backing fabric. So we want to start eliminating that right from the start. I'm going to continue to roll my backing fabric on, and I'm going to stop every turn and do that smoothing. I'm also keeping an eye on my outer edges to make sure that they're not kaleidoscoping in one direction or another. And if they start to, I'm just going to tug them back where they belong. You're the boss with fabric. It just goes to wherever there is the least resistance. You have to tell it what you want it to do. We'll continue rolling and smoothing. And I've got another deep crease here, so I'm going to give it another mist of water. And I'm not soaking it, I'm just getting it a little bit damp. What you could also do is lay it out overnight and mist it, and the wrinkles will hang out overnight. You can also do that with your batting if it's come pre-packaged in a little tiny bag and it's very deeply creased. That's also what you can do with that. I am now very close to the top edge of the backing being ready to be attached up there. So what I'm going to do is just drop that into the frame, and I'm going to wrap this back roller around just like I did the front one. Let me show you what I mean. APQS, well, this particular machine from APQS has a Power Fabric Advance. So this back roller is controlled by this motor, and the controls for the motor are here on the floor. The white pedal is going to reverse the roller towards me. Now we've pre-marked this canvas so that we know exactly the right length to make this roller. I've got an arrow there and a little line. You can do this with your own machine, or, you know, just wrap it over until you have the right spot. Essentially what I'm after is that dowel being just over the crest. There's kind of a nice little sweet spot there where it's really easy to attach the leader grip on that side. So that's where I always aim for that to go. I'm now going to take this edge and put it back up there. And then I'm just going to scoot around to the back side of the table. Thank you. What I'm looking for at this point is a nice flat surface. So typically what I'll do is bring my fabric up like this so that it's nice and flat. And I really only want a finger width of fabric past my dowel. I can see that this fabric is nice and square at this point. If I were to purposely skew it 1/4 of an inch, you can see I immediately get this funny draping, and that tells me that my fabric is not square. I don't worry too much about marking the center and marking the center of everything and lining it all up, because the truth is with these leaders, with how much we unroll and re-roll and unroll, the centers don't stay true to each other. So if you read your fabric and make sure that everything is smooth and flat, that's going to give you a more accurate sense of how square your backing fabric is versus lining up all those centers. I've got my leader grip handy. And what I'm going to do this time is place it on the dowel. This time my palm goes on top and my fingers go over the top of the roller. But again, I'm kind of using my body weight that on there. When your leader grips are quite new, they're a bit stiff. If you find that they're too stiff for you to put them on, you can run them under hot water and just gently press them open, and that will widen the gap just a little bit. You don't want to over widen because then they won't clamp. And take care when you are loading a minky backing or a fleece backing or fireside backing, even flannel, because it's thicker fabric and these do tend to crack if you're not careful with them. I do find it really beneficial to center it right over the dowel so that when I press on it, it is already positioned correctly and it won't crack the plastic. Now that that is fully attached, I'm going to go ahead and drop that into the frame. Now I need to go back round front and use my green pedal on the floor, and that's going to pick up all this slack for me. My goal here is just to get the leader grip past this white leveler bar. We can't have the leader grip under the leveler, and I'd rather not see it in front. If you're short on backing fabric, then we can do that in a pinch, but I'd really like to see that leader grip right out of the way. The trouble arises when this machine enters the equation. You can see that the throat of the machine is not level. It's got these couple of plates on it, it's got some screws, and what happens is they catch on that leader grip and they hinder the movement of the machine, and it's typically right when you're executing the most perfect feather ever. So just get that leader grip right out of your way. Make sure you've got that nice extra 4 inches minimum. Even 6 is a good thing. Now I'm ready for my batting. And remember how I folded it across the width? Now I'm going to unfold it across the width. My goal at this point is to have about 2 fingers of space between the top edge of the batting and that white leveler bar. And your machine may have a different color of bar, that's fine, just this bar here. You need about 2 fingers of space. So I can see I've got a little bit of extra. I'm going to line up flush with that side and let it hang off the other side. And we can even trim that if we have to. So 2 fingers, that looks nice and straight. Now I'm going to smooth along this front roller It just helps things stay in place while I grab this top edge and I'm accordion folding it towards myself. I'm going to jam it under that quilt top roller and I'm going to lay it out flat. Now you can see that my highly scientific 2-finger measurement ended up with the batting almost touching that white leveler bar. That was exactly my goal. And I just use my fingers because they're what I have handy. I can never find my measuring tape. These are always attached. So it doesn't have to be perfect or precise. It's just kind of a guesstimate, that portion of it anyways. Now we're going to do the exact same thing, but with the quilt top. But this time, I want 3 fingers of space at the top, and I want to make sure that I have the same amount of backing fabric showing on the left and right side. So I fold it across the width. Now I'm going to unfold across the width. And I'm going to bring her on down this way because I've got more backing fabric on this side. So there I've got about 4 fingers. On this side, I've got about 4 fingers. So I can tell that it's centered over my backing. Now I'm looking for 3 fingers at the top. You can come up a little bit. Perfect. Before I commit to stuffing the quilt top under the roller, I like to kind of eyeball some horizontal seams. This one doesn't have a really consistent seam straight through the quilt, but you can usually tell how straight the quilt is on the frame in comparison to the rollers. You know that your rollers are straight and square, so it is a good thing to compare against. I don't like to rely on the top edge of my quilt simply because sometimes I get in a hurry and my borders aren't as accurate as my blocks. So I would rather check a horizontal seam in the quilt, and I am just kind of going off this one here and this one here, and that looks fairly straight to me. So I'm now prepared to accordion fold this towards myself, and I'm going to stuff that under the bar. And because I went with 3 fingers the second time, my batting is a little bit higher than my quilt top, which is just perfect. I want it to be just a little bit higher than the quilt top. All right, this quilt is now fully loaded. The next thing we're going to do is baste the edges and get our pantograph design lined up, and you will see that in my next video.